Looky here, it's the Pat and JT podcast.
Pat and JT podcast.
All right.
Steven M Sipple is on our podcast.
Yes,
What's up,
he is.
Sip?
Hi.
How's it
This
going?
is really fun. I'm trying to still digest what's going on.
That's okay. No, this is kind of
That's
fun
all
because we haven't had you in since we started doing our podcast.
Right. So and how long have we been doing this?
February 15 was our first one. We've done one every day since. So
Whoa.
This is
Yeah.
episode.
This would be, let me check on that one. 240 something.
Way to go. Who was your last guest?
That would have been, let me see. Let me
Hold
look
on,
on
yeah.
the Pat and JT show.
Recently,
thing
we've
on-
had some of the guests
There
that
you go.
we've had recently. It's been a lot of fun. We had Carrie Mordell was one of them.
Yes.
Carrie is a doctor,
Okay.
but she's a conservation veterinarian type doctor, animal biology type doctor, and she works with elephants. She's from Crofton, Nebraska.
Really?
She has a preserve that right now I think she's in Africa as we speak. That she works over there with. They're trying to save some elephants, and so she. Go ahead. You want to tell her what she does?
Yeah, she takes semen from the bull elephants. I guess she
there you
doesn't
go.
take it necessarily. She gets
Well,
it.
Pat.
I mean, I don't know how to say it. She
collects.
extracts it.
She collects somehow.
collects. There you go. Collects.
And
This is all coming back to
right.
me. now.
And we had. You remember
Just
us
fired
now?
right back.
Yeah, that's right. You feel good now. The Sip's like,
Yay.
now I remember who you guys are.
Okay.
Of course I remember it was dark though.
It was always dark
It
in
was
our
always
studio.
dark in your
Yeah.
studio.
Well,
Yeah.
now you do a morning show in Lincoln, radio morning show. So you get the getting up, not wanting to see the sun. It's dark, right?
I guess.
No, your morning show. Where are you at right now?
At 93.7 The Ticket. Thank you for the plug. I can plug.
Yes.
Yeah.
93.7 The Ticket. I do a morning show every day with Jake Sorensen.
Nice.
It's just a sports talk. And Jake, if you don't know Jake, maybe you should have Jake on sometime.
That'd be
Sure.
awesome.
We'd love to.
Well, you'd love him.
That'd be great.
He's a magnificent, he's a magnificent human. And he's bouncing off the walls at 5:30.
How's that? Does that wake you up or does that piss you off?
No, I like it.
Yeah.
I need it, obviously.
The energy.
Have you ever seen me bouncing off a wall?
No, never.
Barely awake.
I'm usually leaning on one. You'll catch me doing that, but that's about it.
About it.
But Jake, no, he's really good. And he's
how'd you
really
get,
good.
How'd you get hooked up with that, and how long you been there?
This is I think we're in our third year, and I always told the Ticket the only way I could do a show if it was from 6 to 8. So I thought, I'll never do it.
So of course, yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah,
You got
then
it.
they said, I told my wife, all right, I'm going to ask for a big amount of money. And they're never going to do it.
Yeah, do it. They'll never do it.
And of course they did it, so now I'm screwed. Wife depends on paycheck.
Right? Get your
so-
butt up and get to work.
But it's the best part of my day. It's from 6 to 8, then everything just goes to
Everything
hell.
falls down.
Yeah, 8:01. You're like,
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Then the bad part starts.
Now, okay, listen, a little background on you, because we've never had a chance to really sit and just talk, because we always had like 4 or 5 minutes is all we ever had to talk on our show. And we don't have restrictions anymore.
Yeah, it's amazing. So how long do you do these things? How long do they usually last?
Some
half
15,
hour,
20,
maybe.
30, 40.
average.
It just depends on where it goes. Yeah, kind of see how
Talk
it happens.
about elephant semen.
Right?
that
Right
was a
off the-
longer one.
That was one of our, and it got, oh God. Okay.
It is. It's all firing back at
I
me.
remember now.
See,
Oh
when
my
I
God, he's
think
a genius. You work with a genius.
Yeah, I mean,
Duh,
thank you,
right?
thank you
Oh my
from
God.
to God's ears.
Yeah.
When you when I think of Sip, I think of Walgreens shirts because that's how we bonded initially.
We did
Was our
bond.
love of Walgreens
Was
clothing.
it end cap but Walgreens or any of them?
Well, I mean, that's
I know you were
where,
partial to end caps.
because that's where I got my Dr. Pepper shirt. I should have worn it today.
Yes.
Gosh dang it! I should
They,
have
got,
worn
they
it.
had some cool pop shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although my boobs are bigger than they were then, so it doesn't
Oh.
fit quite as it looks.
Yeah.
It looks like an old fat guy trying to squeeze into a shirt he shouldn't. Nah, but I still love her.
How old
I
are
love
you,
her.
Pat?
45. Yeah, but my metabolism just
How's the
slammed in,
metabolism?
slammed into the floor about 6 months ago.
Yep, that's exactly what
It's like
happened.
all of a sudden, it's like, what the heck?
It's the old guy thing is rough.
It's terrible.
Trust me.
God.
I feel like with every
Bitch.
burpee at Kosama, and I'm not even exaggerating, my left knee could explode at any time. And I didn't injure it. I don't know what.
Welcome. Welcome to old age.
Right?
Wow,
It's like,
it
when did this go out?
Remember
Right.
Kurt McKeever? You remember him?
I don't. The name. I remember
He
the
was
name.
a sports writer at the Journal Star, and he told me a long time ago, Sipple, 47. It seemed like a very random number.
Yeah.
But he said 47. We used to run a lot. He was a runner, and I would trail along, and work out like you. But he said 47 is gonna just get ready, and everything just started going at 47.
Right.
And I mean everything. God, no, that's not true.
Not everything.
Not everything. Wait a minute.
But just get ready.
There's some
Get ready.
dignity here.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
Dignity.
We gave that up long
Right.
time ago. Yes.
So yeah, that's that.
Yeah. So okay. So
53, by the way.
and when we first got to talk to you, you were at Lincoln Journal Star.
Still in.
Still there.
Yeah.
And sports guy. That's where
Sports writer.
you hear his name. You're probably thinking, I've read this. I've seen that name before.
Mm.
That's where it is in the Lincoln Journal Star sports writer.
Lincoln Journal starts HuskerExtra.com.
There you go.
30
Very good.
1 years. There.
Really.
And
Congratulations.
And is that with Sean Callahan too? Is he with the same?
No, he's with HuskerOnline.com.
Husker Online. Okay.
Yeah, I work with several people. The most notable probably is Parker Gabriel, who's a relatively new. He's in his. I think he's in his third year now, but he's really good. It's a name you should know. He's the football beat writer. I'm the columnist, and that's basically what I do. Radio show in the morning is a side gig.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And then we never got, like we said, we never really had the chance to start talking. You guys started talking when we first got in here.
Mm-hmm.
How did you trip over baseball real quick?
Yeah. Oh, because Pat, I've always been interested in Pat's baseball past because I was told he was a good baseball player.
That's okay. This is the deal. That's what we've heard too.
I was
There's a
decent.
paper. There's a clipping out there somewhere. We can't find it, but we've heard. There's a clipping out there somewhere. And what was it? It was the ratings.
It would have been my senior year.
At?
I went to Waterloo, small
Okay.
Waterloo Valley
Okay.
combined for a
Yeah.
baseball team. And I was fourth in the state batting average that year. And DB, Damon, was like 10th or something.
and he's trying
like
to find that clipping.
Yeah,
need to find
I need.
But
to
I
find-
know!
my dad and I flipped his garage over looking for it. I found other things
Flipped
that
his
had
garage
like
over.
there was I found something like a. I don't know, the back page of the sports section had our stats, and I saw some DB one, and on that day I beat Damon in something, but I forgot that. I
You
sent
need to
that to
find
him.
it. So you were a first baseman?
I was a first baseman.
That always was interesting to me because you're not that big.
Right.
I always think of first baseman as bigger guy.
Right.
And I
Catch the wild throws, right?
right.
Yeah.
Right. And trust me, I could
Catch
you couldn't
JT's
you couldn't
wild throws.
hey.
and I couldn't jump either. So you couldn't even slide a piece of toast underneath my feet when I jumped. So I was left-handed. So
On
that
top
was
of it, there.
so that was like that they're like, well, you got to play first. You're a lefty. So
all
then
you can
Okay,
do.
that's that.
so that was
explains a
why
lot.
I got over there.
You're in Waterloo.
Yeah, I mean,
How many people actually went out for baseball in
a
Waterloo?
lot. We actually had a really good team. We had three or four guys my senior year went and played. Two of them played D1, and another one was
Hear
like
that?
Division 2.
See, don't diminish the fact.
Yeah, see,
I was
There's
in
some
Ashland for Pete's sake. It was like,
Yeah.
I get it because it's like, yeah, oh, hold on, let me take my band uniform off so I can go play softball, and then I'll be right over to hit volleyball,
Yeah.
and then we've got swing choir, and it's like, I'm like, I get the many hats.
Yeah,
we'll say that.
And I didn't
okay?
play many hats. I didn't have many
You had one hat?
talents. I had one. I had a baseball hat in basketball, and I was garbage at basketball. I fouled out in the first 11 minutes every game.
So then you were involved with the Royals as a bat boy?
I did. We went to the games all the time back in the
Omaha
80s.
or-
Omaha Royals.
Omaha Royals.
Omaha Royals. And my dad just said to me, he's like, listen, he goes, I think you. I said to him, like, I'd love to be a bat boy. And so my dad made it happen. Met the right people. My dad just does things like he wants a.
This shouldn't happen.
Right. He just does. He sees something that he wants. He just figures out a way to get it. So
That's a good trade.
There are no proper channels.
No, there's not. Every channel is proper.
Really?
So yeah, he introduced me to some guys in the front office, and I got the job. I think I got pushed above the line, above all these other people that have been waiting. I don't know how. I got lucky, and I landed. It was just so lucky that I hit at the time that I did because there were so many extremely talented ball players that came through Omaha at the time.
Who was that?
That Rob Dibble was one of them. Who. He was instrumental. Him and Jeff Montgomery when they played
Sure.
for Nashville, and
Really?
my first year in. Actually, my first homestand as a bat boy. The Nashville Sounds were in town, and I was the bat boy for them. in there at the visitor side.
Oh, so it wasn't always you were the bat boy for the Royals.
We rotated, so we'd be like we'd
Home
go
and away,
home.
okay.
We'd
This is
go
even
home.
cooler than I thought it was.
Right?
There's always 4 bat boys. There was a home dugout, home bullpen, visiting dugout, and you just rotate. And so we'd get to meet all these guys. And I met the first day, and was just kind of nervous, fat, sweaty. And
How old are you?
12 or 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Great time to be
I need an era again. So it's the late 80s?
Yeah, 88. No, it would have been, I'm sorry, it would have been 80,
87, 88.
87, 86, 87, 88.
I'm trying to think of where
87, yeah.
players back then. Was it
There
like-
was Frank White, Buddy Biancalana, George Brett.
Yeah.
started.
Some great ones. Amos Otis?
Yep.
Willie Wilson?
Yep.
See, I remember that time.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great time, and those guys were so. I don't know why, but they were just so nice to me. There were a couple of that weren't, but
Was it the fat sweaty part?
No.
Okay, I'm kidding.
Maybe. Hey, whatever gets me in the door. I was 5'2", about $190. So I was like, what verse say? Something about. It's like a half inch away from being a circle.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's about right.
This is super fun.
So yeah, I got those guys.
He's been on our podcast a couple times. As a matter of fact, every time he's on, we call it Verse Day.
Yeah, that's a good day.
It doesn't matter what day of the
Verse
week it
Day's
is.
a good day.
It's Verse
So
Day.
funny.
All right, so half inch away from
so-
being a circle.
Well,
Okay.
and actually, now that I think about it,
Super
what
funny.
happened was Rob Dibble called me Porky.
Yeah.
And Jeff Montgomery heard him call me Porky and came up to me, and I didn't. It didn't hurt my feelings, but he
You were
did
in
call
the-
me Porky
you were in the dugout.
because we were playing. Well, we were playing Pepper. He was playing Pepper with me, and he
Okay.
called me. He's like, "Go get the ball, Porky." Just like it was rude, right?
Right.
So Jeff Montgomery heard that and said to me, "He's like, listen, we come back to town. I think it was like in 6-7 weeks." He goes, "If you've dropped 10 pounds by then, I'll give you $20." And I did. And I exercised, I worked out, and he's like, and then when he came back, he's like, he didn't even weigh me. He's like, "Dude, you look great." Gave me $20. And and we just struck up
amazing story.
we struck up a friendship, and we every time he was in town, we'd play Pepper, we'd hang out, and there was another on the Royals
What's Pepper,
team.
by the way?
Pepper is where you stand probably 15, 20 feet away from somebody with a bat, and you just toss the ball and they hit it back to you and work on your fielding. So I was getting the entire time building up my skills, my
Yes, you
baseball skills,
were.
without even realizing that I was. And then I had there's a player named Scotty Madison and Jeff Gordon, Tom Gordon. Flash is what
Okay,
they call
yeah.
him. Anyway, so then those guys on the Royals team, every day I would come right after school, I'd go down to Rosenblatt and I'd get there, and as soon as I'd walk in the dugout, I would be always the go-to to go play soft toss back in the back behind the fence.
Wow.
So
Wow.
and they would always say, "Listen, you've soft tossed me a bucket, and I'll soft toss you a bucket." So I would do that every day with a player named Scotty Madison.
Yeah.
And so there was probably 150 balls in a bucket. So every day I had
He was
coaching,
trained and he
one-on-one
didn't even know
coaching
it.
with
That's
these guys.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got
Whoa,
really.
whoa.
I got.
Whoa.
What
What was
ringtone
that?
was that?
This is Eric Clapton, the great Eric Clapton.
That's awesome. Okay.
So yeah. So
you were literally, you didn't even realize what was happening.
No, I didn't even realize what was happening, and then I started getting better in high school and in Legion, and would go to Husker coach camps down in Lincoln when John Sanders was the
Wow.
coach.
So he was do you understand what's
He's
going on
legit.
here?
It was legit.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize because I just loved the game so much. It was so much fun. But then I got and worked my way through, went on field trips, road trips with the Royals too, because I wormed my way into those. No other bat boy had ever or probably since gone on a road trip with them. And so I'm like, oh, I want to go. So I'd go and I'd pay for my ticket the first time.
Were you
and
kind of
they'd
like
pay
the
for my
bar bitch?
Kinda.
Okay, I was kinda. You were like, I was
yeah.
like, hey, Safford.
Yeah.
Hey, Safford, go get this. Hey, Safford, go get that. Hey, Safford.
But I didn't care.
I don't care.
Loved it. I
I'm
loved
good.
it.
That's good.
So yeah, then I went to
talking.
then I started going to the baseball camps down in Lincoln and
Yeah.
loved it. And then John Sanders, I wanted to go play.
This is a legitimate player, right? We're talking to. I'm not
Right?
joking.
But he said, everybody's like, well, your hitting's great, this and that, but you're not very tall. I'm like, what? There's
How was
nothing
your
I can do
speed?
about that.
Okay.
Some guys,
You got to be good at hitting.
yeah.
If you can't do that, you
what
gotta
I
be
was,
good.
I was a good hitter, and I could pick the ball at first. So if somebody threw it short, I had because I couldn't go up, so I had to like master the ground so I could get it. I was good at. I was a great.
Low center
fielder.
of gravity.
Very low center of gravity. I could move from right to left really quick, and I could pick it. So that was my strength, right?
Yeah.
So John Sanders said to me, I wanted to be a Husker, so that's all I wanted to do. And he's like, listen, we don't have a scholarship for you, but you come down, walk on.
Okay.
We'll make it happen. So that I didn't send tapes out anywhere. And at the time, you had to put tapes together. I had all these packages ready to go out, all these universities, so I didn't send it out.
Screw the scholarships.
Because I wanted to go to, I wanted to be a Husker. So I'm like, that's fine. So right after I get into the summer, getting ready to go to the fall, he gave his son, Craig Sanders, a scholarship, first baseman, 6'4".
Yeah, I
Great
remember
hitter.
him. Oh, I remember.
So I'm like, there's no way that I'm a
I'm never gonna
coach's son.
play.
I'm never going to play. So I'm like, you know what? Forget it. So then I got into radio and
wow.
yeah.
So you could have been a college baseball player.
I mean, I wanted to really bad.
Could have lived in Florida.
that whole
really,
Royals
right?
thing is that's fascinating to
Isn't
me.
that crazy?
I didn't realize how lucky of a
No, you probably
childhood
didn't.
I had.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Looking
Yeah.
back on it now, I looked through all my autographs and pictures that I have. You know, sitting in my favorite story of all time was George Brett. When I was sitting
Hall of Fame.
Who's that?
The first year when the Kansas City Royals came to town and would play Omaha, it was him and Saberhagen and Jackson and all those guys came in, and George Brett played the first inning, and then that was it, like one at bat, and then he sat him down. So I was in their bullpen that day, and I was down there by myself because they were all in the locker room hanging out. This was during the game. And he just came down on like the third inning and sat and talked to me from the third to probably the seventh inning, just him and I, just BSing. And I, and I knew who he was at the time.
I hope you tell this story to people.
Well, I do as often as I can because it's
Maybe they'll listen.
because I asked him as he was leaving. I'm like, hey George, can I have one of your bats? He said, you know what, absolutely. But they were going to Detroit the next day, and all of his stuff he was using somebody else's bat had already been sent. He's like, I don't have one here, but. He goes, I'll send it. I'll send one to you. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. You know. So he goes, give Nick Schwartz was their trainer. He goes, give Nick your address and I'll send it to you. So I gave Nick my address, not thinking anything. And a couple weeks later, George hit 3,000. Got his 3,000th hit.
Oh,
and
I like where this is going.
And about a week later, I had a box on my front door.
I mean, it's incredible to me. I mean, what you said, just that little bit about, I went to, after school, I'd go to Rosenblatt Stadium. I mean, that's amazing.
It was
See,
awesome.
I mean, I have little grandkids. Like, I wish to God they could have something like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was lucky.
Now kids, what do? They go right to the video game.
Right to video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
and they
sitting
can
on
be
the
George Brett.
right, literally. I remember sitting on the top. Remember how the old dugouts used to be in Rosenblatt, where it was the wood steps and you'd have that
Yes.
lip at the top.
I absolutely remember.
I would sit on the top step and I had my books on the right, leaning on the dirt and on that
From
top
school.
cement thing from school. And Mike McFarland was one of the catchers, and he was a math whiz. And if I had problems with math, like, all right, Stafford, what problem you got? While he's taking BP, he's hitting, and I'm yelling out my problem. And while he's hitting, he's working out. He's like, all right, yeah, but you got to carry this. But what's the X value is what? And so I'm figuring it out while he's taking batting practice, and like it's incredible.
Did you ever
These stories are
thank him?
Extraordinary.
You ever thank him for the ACT?
For my 17.
17. Oh boy.
I think
Don't say that out loud.
He works at 17.
I have wrung every ounce of water out of that 17. That thing is working hard.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter that's how you ended up at a 17 because
right.
that's okay, man. That's something
Leaping
nobody
Waters
else has.
High school.
Okay, wait. When you go every day to Rosenblatt. Rosenblatt's on the other side of the earth from Waterloo.
Yeah.
So how'd you get there?
Oh, water.
My grandpa and my dad took me every day until I got to drive.
Yeah, okay.
They took me
Yeah.
because they loved
Wow,
going.
see,
They were at
that-
the games anyway.
That's amazing. You had good people in your life.
I was very lucky.
Yeah.
I was very lucky that they were looking down the road to help. To know that having this
Yeah.
foundation would help me.
Yeah.
And
It
they
did.
were
Out of trouble.
Yeah. Really, probably to stay out of
Seriously.
trouble. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's like the small town. I mean, for a lot of kids, small towns, that can be a real problem.
That is a long haul, too, for you.
It was a half hour.
One end of
every
the
day.
county to the other.
Man.
Yeah.
One river to the other.
That's like
Literally, yeah.
Literally, yeah, it was.
Glad you told me all that.
Yeah.
It's awesome. We'll be sitting there and I'll just think of something randomly that I haven't thought of for a very long time during that time. So yeah, road trips were fun too. It was just so weird, going to Louisville and seeing these other ball fields with my parents
so you
not there.
would go to the road trips.
Yeah, I'd
too.
go on
This
about-
wasn't
I'd go
just
on-
home stuff.
Well, it should have been, but I had such great relationships with the front office people, like Gorman and Terry
Oh,
Wendland
yeah.
and all those guys that they would allow me to go. And I had to pay for my first airline ticket myself, but then after that, the team covered it. And I just slept on the floor. I'd go from room to room. I'd sleep on the floor with like one, there was a player named Gary Thurman and Jeff Schultz at the time. The first night I'd sleep on their floor.
Did they draw straws for the rollaway?
Yeah. I thought that they were happy that I was there. Looking back on it, they probably like, oh God,
Because there's probably some fans, some lady fans.
There was
in
one
some of the
instance,
areas.
I won't say who. I won't say who, but there was one time when I was staying in a hotel room where and there was a group of about
How far are we going?
10.
It's a podcast. Hold on.
There was a group of about 10 players that my family developed a relationship with too, and they would come out and eat spaghetti at my grandparents' house all the time. After the game, they'd all pack up and go out and eat. One time after a game at 10 or 10:30, game was over. It's a doubleheader, and Scotty Madison's like, hey, does your grandma have any spaghetti laying around? I'm like, I don't know, dude. So he goes, what's your number? He called her. He's like, Edie, what's the chance of making spaghetti for 10 guys? She goes, well, how long will it take you to get it? He goes, half hour. He goes, she'll have it done. So she made spaghetti for him at 10:30 at night. Anyway, so it wasn't Scotty, but it was another one of that group of guys that I stayed on the floor in their room. And it was, after the game was over, I rode back on the team bus, and then the guys would go out and party, right? And I'd just hang out.
Yeah.
And it was about 1 or 2 in the morning, and on the door, and I went and opened the door, and it was one of the guys in the room. It wasn't Scotty. It wasn't all these.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't you head down to Mullen's room? I'm like,
here's $5.
Okay.
Go play
and it was
in the arcade.
One of the guys standing there, a blonde on each arm.
Oh yeah.
And he was married back here. And him and his wife had eaten at my grandparents' house.
Oh my God. Were you torn about that? Did you?
I didn't know really what was going on.
That probably didn't ring your bell at the time. That later you probably looked back and went,
like,
whoa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really think
The girl
about it.
squeeze your cheeks. Oh, look at it.
I don't even remember.
That's amazing.
I don't even remember.
Hey, buddy.
Probably.
Man,
Yeah, there's all those crazy stories.
you went on the road with them.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of
That
fun.
wouldn't happen now either.
Probably not.
You didn't have a parent with you.
No, those guys just took me under their wing. Yeah. Buddy Biancalana was the guy. I don't remember him or not.
Short stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
He
remember
was
him.
a very, very nice guy. And he was, when we were on the road, he would kind of, take me under his wing.
Isn't that
And,
crazy?
And you understood
Yeah.
just how good they were too.
yeah.
See, that's why do I get so wrapped up in this? Because I understand how, like, we're talking about freak athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, guys that are playing at that level are not like guys we played with.
Right.
There's nobody.
It's different level.
Right.
Yeah.
It's weird level. It's like they're in a weird kind of category of the world.
Thanks to Kugler Vision for supporting our podcast. They were the first. They're great. Love Kugler Vision.
Absolutely. World-class leaders in their field. Without a doubt, people come from far and wide to have their eyes taken care of by their team. Dr. Lance Kugler, Dr. Mike Stuntz, and the entire team is phenomenal. All you got to do is get online at kuglervision.com. That's where you make your appointment for your consultation. Have the consultation. They run you through the tests, and the tests are almost fun. I mean, seriously, because you're in like this spaceship environment, and you're just rolling through these different tests. And at the end, they can tell you exactly what's going on with your eyes, what you can expect, what they can do for you, and here are your options, and you can decide. And if you want, you may end up doing it the same day, as a matter of fact. So ditching the contacts, ditching the glasses. I know we've talked about the whole paying for glasses over the course of a lifetime. New prescriptions, same with contacts, getting stuff in your eyes when you have contacts and you have to find your glasses. KuglerVision.com. Fill out that consultation. You do it yourself. It's a scheduler right there. You pick the day, you pick the time.
Tell them you heard it on the Pat and JT podcast. Do you remember Jim Eisenreich?
Yeah.
He had
Yeah,
Tourette's.
it's Minnesota.
And had Tourette's,
Yeah,
yeah.
Minnesota Twins.
And he played here
Outfielder,
my
yeah.
second year, I think. Second year as a bat boy. And I had no idea what Tourette's was. And he explained it to me. He's like, we were sitting down there, and he would Tourette's is what it is.
I know what it is.
And he had tics, and he would
Were
play.
his
in the
tics
film.
like cussing, or was
it was
more
more
like
of a movement and noise.
And yes,
And it
'cause
wasn't
it's different
words.
noises sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was movements and noise. But he'd be playing, and he would have a tic. But the guy was so good,
Yeah, he was.
so unbelievably good.
Yeah, you remember that guy.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
kidding. So, as far as sports, you're interested in sports. Were you a player when you were growing up? Did you grow up here in Nebraska? Were you?
Yeah.
Let's dig deep into the Sipple side of things.
It's not that interesting. Columbus. I grew up in Columbus, and I probably like Pat. I mean, I played Legion ball. I don't know if that's why. It's a little weird for me because I wasn't a huge sports fan. I mean, I never got into like the whole Nebraska football thing all that much. In fact, I always thought it was a little odd. Like Mom and Dad, you're canceling this party because they lost to Oklahoma. Really? Are we that broken up about this?
right?
Can I have a bag of chips?
So I didn't
eat these, right?
I didn't fully.
Yeah.
I wasn't like maybe a weird little kid like that, but it's helped me. And I didn't get into the field of journalism to cover football or even necessarily be a sports writer.
Really?
No, I mean
What was your?
I thought I would be a cop reporter.
Really?
Yeah, like cops in courts is what I kind of wanted to do. And I just kind of got my foot in the door in the sports department of the Journal-Star when I was a sophomore at UNL. One of the guys that I worked at the Daily Nebraskan with said, "Hey, they have a part-time opening at the Journal-Star. You want to come over with me? We'll see if we can get a job in the sports department." I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And we did, and it worked out really well. Like it just started really progressing. Like it. Back then I didn't have I knew I wanted to do it, but it all moved kind of fast. I was taking scores over the phone, just doing the gruntiest work ever. But then, they'd say, "Hey, we want you to go out and cover a high school game," or then we want you to go cover this racquetball tournament that a Huskers in. And then pretty soon it was, "Here's a slip of paper. This is what you're going to be making full time." I was like, "What?
Wait, what?
Yeah, well, this is
Really?
Are you hiring me right now? Is that what's going on? Yeah, we want you to work here." So it just, and then, but when I started, I wasn't covering the Huskers. It was like 20 hours a week I was working on the desk as a copy editor.
Okay.
And then the other 20, I was writing a bowling column.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. And this little thing
awesome.
we called Sports Look, it was called Sports Look, and it was just try to get kids into the paper. So if Johnny, was really good at karate, his mom would bring him up, and we'd take a photo and have a little section of it.
That's awesome.
So it was that's what I
love it.
started doing. Yeah, and I was happy as a clam. I mean, if I was doing that now, I'd be fine.
Right.
But it just kind of kept moving in the direction of, I started covering Nebraska volleyball, and then I started covering Nebraska men's basketball, and then they said, "Okay, you're gonna be our football beat writer." I was like, "Oh."
Did you play football in high school?
No.
Okay.
Look at me. No.
It was Columbus.
No, I
It's
didn't
okay.
play
There was room
football.
for everybody.
Yeah.
Come on. I get it.
Yeah, I wasn't very big. I weighed about 120. No, and I wasn't all. I mean, I knew what I was doing. I mean, I understood football, but it all worked out. I mean, from '95 to '07, I was the football beat writer.
That's when you
started right at
started?
the right time. I mean, as far as
Yeah,
like the
95,
popularity of the
Everybody-
team, yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. They won national title that year. And then it was really good.
So when you're covering a team like that is so good on such a huge national stage at the time, is there more pressure on you as a writer?
Harder to find a story?
It was
I would
really
imagine it's
really been odd. It's been odd that way. Now you guys are old enough to remember, and I am too. Back then, the internet wasn't a factor,
Right.
and what I remember was it was a lot more manageable because they were winning all the time. There wasn't a lot of strife. I mean, there obviously was Lawrence Phillips situations that would come up, and there was always when you have 150 people, 150 players, there's always something going on. But the summers, there was no staff turnover, so the summers were incredibly quiet. No internet. To the point where my boss would. Oh yeah, I can imagine because I lived it.
Yeah.
I mean, just like think about the players that are now. If they were in that environment, I mean, I don't think they could function in that.
Well, I don't
environment.
know.
I don't know. It's like it's a learned behavior. I know because we've kind of we've seen the transition.
Yeah.
They've known nothing different.
It's no different. So there wasn't a hour-to-hour hunger for news. It was, in fact, what I always remember is my boss at the time saying in the summer, just leave for 5 weeks. I don't want to see you around here. Just leave for 5 weeks. Because there wasn't usually much going on,
Yeah.
and there wasn't a website to feed.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So now it's way different. I mean, even in June, you have to kind of come
Yeah.
up with stuff.
Yeah.
There's no way my boss will ever say, leave for 5 weeks. I don't want to see it unless he just wants me to be,
Unless you want you to leave.
wants me to be fired. Which is always fairly close. But I so yeah, covering that during the very successful years was surprisingly less stressful than covering it during these years where they've really struggled.
Yeah.
Because there's been, think about it. Since
Yeah.
I've been working, how many, they've gone through 5 head coaches, 4
True,
head
yeah.
coaches.
That's crazy.
And those are the craziest years.
That's when you probably have stuff to write about, like endless things to write about when things are going bad, when there's coaching issues, when
yeah.
there all that kind of stuff. You like
So
just,
he kind of like jumped in on the very tail end of the
good.
quiet.
Yeah.
yeah.
And got the best of the best.
Then the internet came. and then they started losing. And it was like, okay.
Here we go.
But it was fun. It was fun. It's been pretty fun. I'd never characterize it as totally fun because I'm not, like, writing is not. I would never say, like, yeah, writing's fun. But it's worked as a career.
Right. Well, it's going to be, though, it's going to take some pressure off because a lot of writers, I think, a lot of sports reporters in general get accused of having the fan syndrome.
Yeah, I don't have that.
And so,
I mean, I'm not anti, but I've
you
never been
don't,
emotionally attached.
which is great.
Yeah, it helps a ton.
It's got to.
Oh, I can't tell you how much.
Is it hard to? I mean, I've asked Matt Schick this and Nick this.
Yeah.
When you're in like a press conference situation and you're being critical of whoever, the coach or whoever is either the focus of the press conference or somebody you're interviewing, isn't that hard? Isn't that difficult to ask those questions that everybody wants the answers to?
Yeah.
But it's not. It's going to be a very uncomfortable maybe position for the
It's
other
a
person to
question
be in.
they
Depends
don't
on
want
the
you to
coach.
ask, right?
Depends on the coach, of course. They've all been a little different that way. Obviously, Tom was really daunting at the time.
Yeah.
Because he was
So
so
revered.
revered, yeah.
There you
And I was young. I was young and still probably a little scared.
Mm-hmm.
So that was with Frank kind of the same. It became a little easier than who was after that? Callahan. Yeah, Callahan. I had a really good relationship with Callahan until I called for his job and that of his entire staff.
That kind of put a little little wedge in between.
Throw a wet rag on it.
It got really chilly.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah, his wife one time, I was walking across the street from Embassy Suites is there on the corner by the Journal Star, and I was walking downtown, and she pulled up at a light right there, and I was walking across, and she started to pull out, and she rolled down her window and said,
no.
"I really thought about running you over."
I would have just popped it neutral.
Honk a little
I mean, I could tell you, we could sit here all day, and I could tell you Pelini stories, and he doesn't
Oh,
mind.
my
I mean,
God.
he wouldn't mind. It was that was hard. That was challenging for sure. Riley was easy to ask anything. You could ask him anything, and it didn't matter. He was fine.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Were any of them like the kind that they tried to nip it in the bud as far as they knew people were thinking something? Let's just get this out here right now before you have a chance to
Some
ask.
guys were pretty savvy that
It's
way.
like, I mean, to me, that's the smartest thing in the world to do.
Get it out in your own words.
Let me
just
put
do
it out there. I'll just go ahead and say it, and then it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. There was that.
Did you ever not ask a question because you were kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to ask this one?
I don't know if it's conscious like that. Like, I don't know if you have that conversation
Yeah.
exactly. Sometimes it might be, this guy will probably ask it. So if
I'll
he
let
doesn't,
him.
I will. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. At this point, but it's evolved. That whole thing has evolved. I mean, as you get older, and your mortgage is almost paid, you start to care. Like, I don't care. Like at this point in my career, I don't really care what anybody thinks.
Right.
A coach or anybody. I mean, it just, now there was a time I cared.
Yeah.
So that was different. It was different, but you reach a level, and some of it's just, I think it's just personal maturity. You just understand it's all sports and what the hell. Just,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask him, and if he doesn't
Do they
like
act
it,
differently now that coaches are and players like on the next level, but coaches that are making millions and millions of dollars versus 20 years ago when the money wasn't that big of a
Yeah.
factor?
that's a good question. I mean,
Thanks,
yeah, I mean, you do talk like among yourselves, I guess, a little bit as media members and saying, well, he's making a ton of money, so he should have to answer these questions. I don't think of it that way. I mean, because I've been around those guys enough to know that the money part isn't all that important. I mean, I know Scott well enough that doesn't matter to him. I don't think he thinks of it that. I know Scott.
It's not like, well, I'm making X amount of money, so I need to answer every question.
I don't think he thinks of it that way.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I know Scott doesn't think of it that way. Pelini was just naturally combative. Pelini's just combative.
What's your best memory or the thing that pops in your head when somebody says Pelini?
Oh my God, we used to have ungodly fights. Like now, here's the thing about it that you have to understand. Okay, he came here. You guys remember in 2003 as a defensive coordinator. As a defensive coordinator, and then he left. Now, when he came in 2003, we had a really good relationship, and it continued after 2003. So we would stay in touch. Went down to Oklahoma to see him.
Okay.
And we had we were friends. And then though it wound to 2007. Bill Callahan got fired, and here's Bo's name popping up as perhaps the next head coach. And I was terrified because I knew him well. We talked all the time, and then he gets the job. And I'm like, now, I would always say to him, Bo, this is going to be sort of awkward because I'm a columnist and I have to criticize you. I mean, there's going to be times when there's just things that I don't agree with or.
Oh man, that'd be tough.
Oh, it got really, you wouldn't believe how
tough
it got. And because he knew me really well and we talked on the phone all the time, we could talk all day about the stuff that happened. It got crazy.
Yeah.
And I would never want to. It was the worst period of my career.
That'd be tough.
You couldn't enjoy it. I mean,
No.
you couldn't enjoy what you were doing, even if he was anybody else.
No, and the stories are wild. I mean, it was when we think back on it, I'm combative too. And the guy like Carl would always say, Sipple, he likes you because you come back at him, and hardly anybody in this world does. And I would. I mean, I just there's a lot of moments that would kind of spun out of control. Some of them in a lighthearted way, and some of them not a lighthearted way at all. I mean, there was one time where it was Cody. Remember Cody Green and
Yes.
Taylor Martinez were battling for the starting quarterback job, and I had written a column. It was early in a week. I can remember this like it was yesterday because they had to give me an office. They gave me an office because our conversations were so wicked and vulgar that they said we got to get him out of the newsroom.
It's an HR nightmare.
Yeah. So he called me. I wrote that I think Taylor has an edge. A source told me Taylor has an edge, and Bo called and said, "Who's your source?" And I said, "Bo, I'm not going to tell. There's no way in the world I'm telling you this. So you can yell and scream and do your thing." And he yelled and screamed and did his thing, and it got ugly naturally. It can.
Yep.
And I said, all right, make sure everybody's out of your office because I'm coming over. And he said, okay, big boy.
I can hear him say that.
Okay, big boy. Okay, big boy, come on over. And I was going. I was enraged how he was talking to me. And thank God I have a son-in-law who's a truck driver, and he called me from Shoemakers right after I hung up with Bo and said, "Hey, I'm at Shoemakers. I parked my rig. I need a ride. I need a ride home." I said, "All right, I'll come and get you. Then I'll go deal with Bo." But I cooled off.
Right.
Thank God. And Bo, what I should say too is Bo would always be the one to apologize.
Wow.
Bo, there's a lot of negative things said about Bo, but you won't catch me because he is what he is, but he was always the first to apologize.
That's cool. That says a lot.
Yeah. And there were times when he was remarkably, like he just had to, he's just get angry. There was one time I had my cell phone in my office at home, and it was the same type of conversation, although I tweeted something about the quarterback race. And the Cody Green's family got upset, and that ruined Bo's Saturday. It was a Saturday.
Oh my God.
And I had my phone on my desk at home. I'd gone for a run, and he called, and I had it on speakerphone, and he started in, and I said, hey, at one point I said, hey, I don't even know why you're upset, to be honest. And he goes, that's because you're a bleepity bleep moron. And he was yelling, and my grandson was standing behind me, and he started crying. And Bo said, what's that? I said, okay, now see, here's what's happened. You brought this into my house now. And we have we're going to have some big problems now. You got my grandson upset, and so on and so on. And all through the night, he sent me texts of apologizing with exclamation points. I thought it was his wife.
Right.
I thought it must have been his wife because of the exclamation point. How I say, did you use exclamation points like
He
that?
didn't use emojis.
Yeah,
So
no.
we didn't have emojis.
I do. I use exclamation point all the time. Does that mean I'm a girl? All the time.
That was really a sexist comment. But I am a misogynist.
I'm good with both of you. It's not a problem. Don't worry.
But all through the night, and he demanded I take Alex to his house, and he apologized to Alex.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's just the way he's
That's
that
just
way.
him.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? My gosh.
Well, we both have anger.
So when a guy like Bo Pelini loses a job in Nebraska, does that affect him? Obviously, it wasn't a successful him at Nebraska, so it affects him a little bit. It's sad, I'm assuming. But on the outside, when you think, man, it's a great job, making a lot of money, he loses, he's got to be devastated. Are guys on that level devastated when they lose a job, or do they know it's coming?
He was, his whole thing was they have so many people working under him.
Okay.
And those people are
See,
affected.
You don't think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times when that happens, and then you also don't realize that even, and Bo Pelini, I mean, say what you will, there's still, to me, I just find him, there's just something about him. I mean,
he's incredible. I think he's incredibly intelligent.
It didn't.
He's bizarre.
He was successful.
Yeah.
The only reason he's gone is because people just didn't like him.
Well, he's really.
But
he didn't.
Right?
Play,
Am I right?
He
I
didn't
mean,
do it like most coaches. Like he didn't play the game.
He didn't
and he
do it
wasn't
right.
willing to play the game. The game meaning, like, there's guys I know that have coached various sports in Nebraska that they literally will play the game because it might get them an extra year. Bo was like, hey, I don't care. I'm either going to win or lose. I'm either going to make it or I'm going to get fired.
Because he had a winning record.
Yeah.
But yet he's still
It was the people under him that he was worried.
Right.
About.
And they probably don't give him credit for having that kind of concern.
Yeah, he was very odd. He was odd. He was strangely honest.
That's correct. Are you still in touch with him today?
Not as much. Okay. He sent me an Amigos. He took a screenshot of an Amigos calendar. It said, "How's your second job?" Or not calendar. The drive-through thing. It said, "Here, I just want to know if you've memorized this for your second job." Stuff like that.
That's funny.
Yeah, real mean
Right,
spirit.
right.
But listen, I hammer him back harder. Like, I sometimes feel guilty about, like, yeah.
That's awesome, man. I want you to stay for like another hour.
Hour? Will you come back sometime?
Will you?
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah.
This would be great.
Yeah, off season would be good.
Okay.
This is like today was not a good.
No, this was a bye.
A bye week.
So like this will never happen again. But off season, sure.
No, this is a bye week.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we kind of caught. He's got a minute to breathe.
Okay, so we got it.
Yeah, so this is a bye week. So lucky for us.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
I'm glad you got to come.
Yeah,
back.
we'll do it again sometime.
I would love to have you come back. I mean, maybe after the season.
Yeah.
We'll try and
In
pull
the
that
winter.
together and
Now that I know where you are.
right. I know we're kind of tucked away in kind of a. It's like there's this. It's like this wildlife preserve back here.
A lot of geese. There's some
Lots
baby.
of
There's
geese
a fox.
and fox and I mean all
you see
kinds.
fox?
All the time.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I got hit by a deer the other day.
Oh no. Where?
My car. It's
You
on
hit
Boozer.
a deer. You didn't get hit
It
by
ran right
a
in front
deer.
of me.
That doesn't mean you got
Wait a
hit
second.
by
where,
the deer.
Where
On
was
Boozer.
it? Where was it?
Bob Boozer.
Really?
Yeah.
A deer's out there?
Yeah, it was raining and it just like popped out right in front of me and I was going like 30, 35 maybe. I mean, I was going slow.
How much damage?
Almost $4,000.
Oh,
That is insane.
I'm sorry.
There was a
JT.
crack this big. And I'm just so you know it's about 4 or 5 inches.
And that's
That was-
so about $1,000 an inch.
But behind it, the stuff that was cracked and broken behind the headlight and behind it's stuff you couldn't see. Once they took it apart, and they sent me the pictures. I'm like, huh?
Could you drive it after that?
Absolutely.
Really?
Couldn't even tell anything was wrong.
I
with
probably pissed. The deer got up and ran away.
it. She did. She got
She
bumped.
did?
And she laid down. She kind of shook around and she stood up and what the
WTF?
hell? And there was no other traffic coming the other way. And she just hopped off into the brush on the other side.
Wow.
See you later.
You ever hit a deer?
Nope.
That's the first time I ever have.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And you live in Ashland.
Yeah. I've been driving gravel roads my entire life, and I Bob Boozer.
Yeah. So not around Ashland. You never hit it.
Never did.
Oh, that's interesting.
No,
Here.
isn't that crazy? I got hit by another car, but I've never. Yeah, that was because it was like in August. Country roads heading up to Wahoo, and I was on gravel.
Do you
roads.
still live in Ashland?
Nope, my parents do though.
Okay.
And heading to Wahoo, and that's when the corn was high, and they didn't have their headlights on. I didn't see them coming, and right as I got to the intersection, they hit me.
Wow.
That's scary.
Yeah, and I had my headlights on, but that taught me a lot about intersections in the country.
Right. And the corn's high.
Yep.
Yeah, open your
Sometimes you
eye.
can't see the dust because it's in the dusk, and you can't see the dust.
That's
coming- yeah.
interesting about
Yeah.
the deer. I
Yeah.
always wonder what that'd be like.
Yeah, it was, and I wasn't going that fast, so it wasn't. It was just startling. It was like whoa, and there was nowhere to pull over because there's no shoulder.
Yeah. See, I ride a motorcycle, so
Oh, my God.
So everybody says you gotta watch the deer.
That would be
And if
devastating
there's
on a
one,
motorcycle.
always if there's a doe in particular, it's either a buck's chasing her or her babies might be following her.
Yeah, the hardly ever one. Yeah,
Is that right?
Yeah.
Soph and I almost hit one on Center Street way out there, and it was
Yeah.
one had run up in the street. We slammed on our brakes, missed it by 4 or 5 feet, but sure enough, in the ditch, there was
ditch.
probably 10 more just waiting to cross.
Really?
Yeah. So if the
I
first
don't
one
like
you
this
see the
story. I don't like this
right,
part of the
I know.
podcast.
Yeah.
This part of the podcast is bothering
Always
me.
end on a high note.
Yeah. So
Sip.
if you see, I missed that one. Ha ha. boom.
Yeah. Suckers, pow.
On that note, Seb,
Yeah.
you didn't ride your motorcycle today, did you?
No, I
Okay.
thought about it.
What kind of
But you
motorcycle do you have?
can't, Harley.
Nice.
Super Dynaglide. And the
Super Dynaglide. That sounds. I don't know anything about motorcycles at all except they're scary, but that sounds like a pretty awesome one.
they're not scary.
My brother bought a crotch rocket a long time ago.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he?
He bought.
Did he?
Bought it and we rode it one time for 3/4 of a mile, both of us sobbing, and he sold it the next day.
Really?
I was holding on his back, screaming through my helmet.
His little brother.
Yes. Yes. You couldn't hear me.
I hear
because
people
he
say
was
that.
Crying.
Yeah, I have people will say that sometimes. Like I've tried it and I just won't do it.
Terrifying.
Like I've never. I used to ride it barefoot when I was a kid.
my God.
Like I was like no helmet, barefoot.
Yeah.
So everybody's a little different.
Yeah, we are
yeah.
a little different.
Yeah,
It's a nice
everybody's
way.
a
It's
little-
a
Oh my
nice way to say it.
God.
Everybody's a little different.
Steve Sipple, thank you so much for
You're
coming
awesome.
in with us. We
Gosh,
appreciate
thank
it,
you.
man.
I'm honored.
Where can
I
they
really
find
am.
you? Where can they
Thank
find
you,
you on social media?
Yeah.
Just under your regular name, or just
Oh, where do you find me? At Husker Extra Sip, I think is what it is on
Okay.
Twitter. On Twitter, at
that's
Hus-
where you are most of the time.
Yeah, at Husker Extra Sip.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Sip.
All right.
Thanks,
buddy.
dude.
Take
Okay.
Pat and JT Podcast. A Parkville Media Production.